So just for the people here who might not know, both Anjishnu and Sree are recipients of the DAAD WISE scholarship. And right now, Anjishnu is working at Wells Fargo, and she just finished her internship at Microsoft, and she's received an offer for joining full-time next year. So since both of you have done the DAAD WISE scholarship, most of the questions are surrounding DAAD. So the first thing is, what were your projects like? What did you have to work on? How was the work?
So my project was it was something I forgot. Wait. Okay, my project was on collision detection, right? So there's this thing like in video games and stuff. You have like different character models and player models and all that, right? And they interact with different things like within the environment. So like my project was to calculate different parameters for like when they're colliding. So and it was in C++, which I no longer use.
So what domain would this be? Just web
I'd say it's like game dev, maybe.
game dev. That's very different from what you've done before.
Yeah.
So how is that?
I mean, so I applied because like at that point of time, I was interested in like, either computer vision or computer graphics, right? So in all the places where I applied for computer vision, no one replied. So graphics was the only choice I had. And like this was like the most interesting project out of like all the replies. So
Yeah, it's a really interesting project. Sree, what was your project about?
Yeah, so when I applied, I knew I was vaguely interested in natural language processing, and the positive response I got was from a language technology group, which like works on natural language processing, but also a bit more on computational linguistics. Like linguistics was a major focus area. So my project, very luckily, like my professor is German, but the postdoc who I am mainly collaborating with, he is Indian and also a Bengali. So like Bengali is a low resource language in terms of NLP. Like English, in case of English, we have a lot of resources, and it's very easy to harness those resources for downstream machine learning or NLP tasks, but it's not that easy for Bengali or like Hindi or any other local language, regional language. So our project was to enrich one of those resources for Bengali using something like a dictionary, let's say, automatically use a dictionary to improve that resource. And my internship is actually still not over. My DAAD internship is still September 15, and I'm still like tying the loose ends right now. So yeah.
Cool. So when you were applying, how did you apply?
it's a complicated process. So it's basically like in 2 steps, right? I'll share a link with you in the chat. Give me 1 second. This has like a detail of like all the steps in the process, right? So I'll just go through it briefly. So first you have to apply for the internship and then hope that you get selected. Then you have to apply for the scholarship and hope that you get selected. And then you go to Germany. I mean, assuming there is no COVID. So for the internship, it's basically you have to email professors who are working in stuff that you like and hope that someone reads your email. Right. So this part is really random, but assuming that you get a reply from one of them, they might ask for like a short interview or something. They might not. It depends. Um, After that, they send a couple of documents, and once they're like once you have all the documents and like you're confirmed that the professor wants you, then you have to like go to whoever your HOD is, like in IIEST, or like other colleges. And then you have to get like I forgot what it's called, NOC. You have to get a NOC, no objection certificate. That like during that period you are allowed to go and do your internship, right? And once you have all of this, you are like going to apply for the scholarship, where there are more documents you have to fill up, and then you have to like upload everything in a compiled form to the DAAD portal. And also like you'll have to get like letters of reference and all that. So like for the details, like just read the link which is there, right? But like there are a lot of documents which are there, and you have to like make sure everything is uploaded, and you have to send like a physical copy of everything to Delhi by post. And this happens like around October, November, I think. And then around January, you get like an unofficial response from that as to whether you have been selected or rejected. And if you have been selected, you'll get like the final selection documents by March. So that's the timeline.
Right. So October, November is when you apply for the scholarship.
Yeah. And you apply for the internship before that, like August, somewhere around that.
So like right now.
Yeah.
And there have been two questions. They were similar questions, but framed differently. And one question is, how did you find the professors to mail? And the second question is, how did you choose a professor to mail?
Okay, so first of all, like you have to identify, I think, some area or areas of interest which you would like. It's not like you have to be a very big shot and have already done great research in that area or something, but you need to have some idea of the basics and at least the motivation that yes, I want to work here. And then it's a very brute force process. You just find out the colleges which almost all public universities of Germany offer the like internships with DAAD WISE. So and then I think for every university you can find the CS department, like the webpage for the CS department, and then you go to the research areas, and based on that you filter out, and you'll get a list of professors, and depending on their work areas, like specific work areas, you can find out, like you'll get some idea about what they work in. It's obviously not possible to understand the exact specifics, so it's kind of like partly a shot in the dark, but like you have some idea, and with that you just tell them that yes, this is your work that I'm interested in. Maybe read a few publications if you have some time, or go through some of their projects, and just mail them. And mostly I think they focus on your background, or if you will be able to work there. So that is really important when you're writing to a professor. But choosing mostly depends on that, just finding out what kind of work they're doing.
Right. So a lot of hard work. How much time did it take for you to make this choice?
So for me, I spent like I think around 2 weeks maybe. I wrote to like 14 different people, or 13. I forgot how many exactly. So and out of those 14, I got replies from I think 5 or 6. And like this was like what I did. I have like seen people apply to like 50, 100 professors. So that'll obviously take more time. So if you're applying to like more people, start earlier. That's all.
I would say my work was made a lot easier by Anjishnu himself, because I received a whole like zip folder of every like prerequisite knowledge about that from him, and I had a very good starting point. I knew a list of colleges that one could apply to, and like notes, what kind of notes to take while trying to mail a professor, and all of that. I had it all ready with me. So yeah, but around I think some 2-3 weeks, but I got really lucky. I mailed only 4 people. I got a reply from one of them which matched with my interest, and I got ahead with that.
And there was another question that is one of the criteria is you have to have an internship to get the scholarship. Is there any other criteria?
You need to have the NOC from your college. That is like usually a big problem, because for our college, like for IIEST, like there are like internships in different countries, right? So this DAAD one was the only one that like we are eligible for, because like for example, if you go for the Canada one, most of their internships are like 3 or 4 months, right? And then there is like many like internships in the US, which I wanted to apply to, but they were like of 6 months or something. And like the HOD at that point of time like wouldn't have agreed to any of those. So like, I mean, even if like the HOD doesn't agree, like I even tried going to the director and stuff, but like none of them agree, right? So
But DAAD is IIST friendly.
yeah.
So that's
Was there also some kind of criteria that you need to have a passport by 1st December of the previous year? Like if you're, I
mean,
think
that
it's
is like
mentioned on the
once you get
website.
selected, right?
Yeah, but I am not sure if they actually check it during the application, because I can't remember like anything related to my passport getting uploaded or something. But I think it's mentioned in one line on their website that you need to have it.
Like one more thing you need, I mean, this is kind of rude to say, but you like need high marks, right? Like very high CGPA. Otherwise, you probably won't make it like in the scholarship. I mean, I know people with like 9.3 and 4 getting like not getting it. So.
And another question, department, does that matter when you're applying for DAAD WISE?
Not really.
So the scholarship does not really discriminate on department.
No.
That's cool. And do you need to know German to apply? I know none of you know German, but this was a question.
So, like in one of the documents that your professor is supposed to send to you, and there is like a field where they have to like choose that like whether German is necessary for the project or not. So if they mark that field as yes, and like if you can't like convince them to change that, then it's necessary. But like usually they mark it as no, and you can convince them that it's not necessary.
So when you were working under a German professor, was there any language barrier of sorts?
No.
Cool. And another question a lot of people have asked is, was there anything that you've done in your freshman year or your sophomore year that you felt helped in your internship, or something you wish you did which would have helped?
For me, I like, like my project was in C++, right? I mean, so before applying for the project, like whatever projects you're applying for, you would have an idea of like what language or like what tech stack the project involves, right? So like at that point of time, I knew only C++ and like nothing else. I mean, a bit of C, but like C nobody uses. So like C++. So like if you know a little bit of like any language, that's helpful. And like usually if it's a software project, I mean, I don't know, like etc people might have hardware stuff to do, but if it's a software project, then like it's helpful to know a little bit of Git and like GitHub or like any other like virtual control system, because like most projects will be using like something related to that, right? And something that I wish I knew, so that would be like project specific. So for example, I had zero idea of game dev, so it would have been helpful to know like Unity and those kind of things, Unreal Engine and stuff. That I had to like learn on the project. It would have been easier if I knew it.
I think if somebody in their freshman year is trying to find out like what kind of profile they should carve for themselves if they're applying for that, one thing is very important, which Anjishnu mentioned already, which is their CGPA. So it would be good to focus on that from the very start, because like depending on the competition of that particular year, it might get very difficult, even with good GPAs. And I wouldn't say there was anything I wish I knew. I knew like when I went to the internship, I had very basic experience about NLP, very basic, like not at all anything hi-fi. But then I did learn in the process, and that was enjoyable in its own.
Yeah. I just zoned out. Someone did ask a question about LOR. So I think, do you need an LOR to apply?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, you do. So how did you approach your professor?
LOR, like you just ask any teacher from the department that likes you. So for me, it was like Abhik Mukherjee. I mean, he's a nice
Same.
guy, and he has like written LORs for like 3 generations of DAAD right now. Before me, and Sree. So I mean, if you're from CS, IIEST, it's safe, like pretty safe to go with AM. And so like the contents of the LOR, I don't know because like it's supposed to be confidential, and like he doesn't show.
So in
So yeah.
our year, we got lucky and we did not need an LOR ultimately. Like they waived it for the COVID because we had to post it separately. So my LOR is still with me, and of course I opened it and I saw the content. So there's a specific format for the LOR where there are specific fields of like how like the internship is going to help the candidate in their future. What are their future goals? How would IIST encourage this kind of internship? What is their academic standing? How interactive they are, stuff like that. And yeah, like Anjishnu said, like AIM sir has written a generation of LOR, so it's mostly, I think, like standard answers. But yeah, I think he will, like in my case, he asked me a few questions before he was filling out that, what is your project? Why are you interested? How will you work on it? Stuff like that. So yeah.
So you said that the CGPA depends on the relative performance of the batch, but the current first years have always had an online semester. So do you think there's a chance the CGPA could go skyrocket?
Probably. I mean, like previously, like people had very low CGPAs in IIST. I mean, the batch before me, they had like only one person was like above 9.5 or 6, right? The batch before that, like I think no one was like above 9.5. And right now, like pretty much everyone is above 9.5. So, I mean, like that kind of helps in one way, like, like most of the IITs, like during my year, so all the people who got selected, they had CGPAs above 9.5, right? And from each IIT, they had like multiple students getting selected. From IEST, only like 2 people got selected, me and Subecha from mechanical, right? So, I mean, probably that number might increase from IEST, but I don't know.
I think this is where the relative CGPA might come in because, like, like if anybody has CGPAs from like 9 to 9.5, and they just decide to take only 2 people, in that case, somebody having a good but not as high a GPA might not make it. But like if everybody has 9.7, 9.8, 9.9 GPA, then I don't know, they might consider taking in more people. Like they might not. Usually, I think from our college, every year 2 people get selected across all departments. So I think that has been the trend for a long time now. But a very high GPA in the applicants might just change that trend.
So was there any, like, it's a scholarship? What was the amount? I don't think Sree received a scholarship amount.
I did. But like,
For me, it was like I think they had around $750
euros.
dollars or euro for like the plane thing, the transport, and
I,
probably
transport is, I
1,000.
think, the just the opposite. Transport is 1,050 euros, and
Acha, हाँ. I
monthly
mean,
is
total
like,
it was somewhere around 2 lakhs, like when you convert
yeah.
it. And
They
like
also
transport
provide
from here to
medical
Germany is
insurance.
60K, so it's basically 140. And like if you have to like book a decent place to live, that's like usually around 1 lakh. So you have like 40,000 to spare approximately.
So, Anjishnu, your German trip got cancelled, but did you still get the money?
Um, no, I didn't get my money. I actually booked my flights and stuff, right?
Mhm.
Uh, I mean, before COVID. So I even booked the Airbnb, and then COVID happened, right? So it's like I had to wait an entire year, and then that decided they would like refund like whatever has been booked, but like they won't pay me extra, right? So like the flights got refunded and everything, but I didn't get anything.
So, effectively, scholarship amount was zero for both of you.
Yeah.
No, I did not like. We got something. We got 300 euros a month plus German language classes from the Goethe Institute and some workshops on technical writing, intercultural training, all of that.
Oh,
To
wow.
like,
You have that as well? It's part
yeah,
of.
we had that because like in 2020, I think they could not carry on with the program because of like how suddenly COVID happened. So that got cancelled. In our year, they totally moved it to an online format, and they decided on a lesser amount for stipend. And along with that, this was called the WISE Virtual Academy. We had a month of German classes, and we had like 2 weeks of these workshops.
Right. So, Anjishnu got no money, but Sree got money.
That's a really good way to put it.
That's very
And
funny.
like for German, like I don't know if like this is like a thing, but Avik sir, like from IIEST, he has like a couple of German books, right? So he went to Germany at some point of time, and he tried to learn the language, and he had like this very thin books that you like buy at train stations and stuff, right? So when I went to him for the LOR, he is like, "You will need these books, right?" And I still have those books. I'll probably need to return them sometime.
And another question was, how has DAAD scholarship enhanced your resume? What does it show on your resume?
It's a huge addition, I would say. Like on one hand, it's a very famous and prestigious scholarship for students in like doing their undergraduate studies, and also along with that, if people, it's more like often than not, you're always invariably doing good research. Particularly, like we had to move to an online setup, so it might have gotten difficult for people who had hardware projects, but for people with software, it was almost unaffected. So you're doing good research and you're gaining a lot of like experience, which is not maybe similar to just not exactly like proper research you would do in a PhD degree or something, but still some sense of it. And also a lot of people get their work published, or do come up with some kind of like that kind of an outcome. So that could also be a good addition to their CV.
So, suppose you want to go for a research profile, do you think that is a great way to start out?
Yep. I mean, that is like, I don't know, like, I mean, it's a good thing to have, right? Like, you're doing research. So, like, when you apply for, like, master's program or like PhD programs outside, they usually look for like you having some research experience, right? And like, I don't know about IITs, but like within IEST, like the research culture isn't that good, right? Like people usually publish work that's like not very good, I'd say. I mean, it's kind of like standard or like below par for most cases. And like including me, like I have like zero idea of research like before I applied for that, right? And like then I started reading about papers and all. So like it's a good way to get started with like basic research, and like it gives you the exposure that you cannot have like within your like home institution. So yeah, that's always a positive to have.
Uh, And how should someone who wants to get started in research, how should they start while they're in college, apart from that?
You have to be excited about something. Like, I mean, it has to be like some topic that you like or something, right? So, for example, like you might like movies a lot. Um, and let's say that you are studying computer science, you might be interested in analyzing some of those movies or something, right? So if you try to do that, you'll need to like read up stuff on like what people have done before, and like you have to see like where you can improve, right? Like on the existing methods. So like just be excited about something and then try to do something with that. And that's like the most basic way of starting research, I feel.
Also, I think in our college, like if somebody is in their first or second year, usually the specialized courses will not start that early. Like whatever specific course you, specific thing you're interested in, applied, some applied subject, it would come in third or fourth year. So usually most people, what they do is start taking out of curriculum courses. It's great if you can find a research interest in a subject that's already been covered in the curriculum. That's also possible, very much possible. But and I think uh, just exploring the online space is also good. A lot of people might be against online learning and like how it's not that reliable or something, but I think it's a good starting point. And then after a while, if somebody starts with like reading research papers, starting with the very basics, initially it's very difficult, and like most people don't understand an entire research paper in its entirety when you start reading it. But then it's good to get some idea about what is going on, like maybe some very vague high level idea, but then you understand that okay, people are even working on stuff that don't seem very like doable. Like if you look at research getting carried out in the US or in like Germany or something, you see that any like very simple idea, very interesting idea that one might just brush off as a dream or something, people are actually working on that. And it's good to know about that, and that might even like make you more passionate about research.
So, a question for both of you is, Anjishnu, I know you're into machine learning. Sree, you just said you're into NLP. How did you arrive at these domains? How did you choose, I want to do computer vision or I'm interested in NLP? What has your journey been like?
So for me, I was like interested in robotics in my first year. I mean, before first year also I was interested in robotics, but like in first year I worked with robots and like built like small robots and stuff. So that like introduced me to programming, and then I moved to like CS from mechanical, and then I got introduced to more programming. uh, so like through that process, like like my previous idea of robotics was I'll be doing the building part of the robotics, like like actually making the robots. But like once I had like the department shift, my focus like shifted towards like algorithms part of like building the robots, right? Like planning how they move and stuff. um, and like while exploring that, I like totally randomly came upon computer vision, which has like some algorithms like SLAM. Uh, it's like a algorithm for like path planning, right? That is used in robotics. And like then I wanted to explore that more, and one thing led to another, and I was like involved in computer vision.
I had a much more like clueless journey. Like I knew from my first, like before I joined college, that I would want to go in research. Like I'd seen people around me do that, but I had no idea. Like even till my end of second year, I think I was just into doing my college studies and just doing the standard, checking the standard boxes in college. But then my best friend was into machine learning, and he used to be very excited about it, and I started seeing that, and I was like, okay, machine learning is cool. So then the quarantine started, and I had options of, I was thinking like to try out security, or machine learning. And then I started doing machine learning, and I really liked it. And then again, very randomly, I was checking out more specifics like applications in healthcare, and then NLP. Just stumbled upon NLP, and I said, okay, this is something I really like, and that was it.
So, wow, two very different journeys. It's really nice to have both kinds here. I hope you can help us with our machine learning chapters in Code IST and DSC. And now another question is research internships for second years. How is the application? Do you know? Have you seen people around you?
Um, so I've seen like one person, like I know of one person from IIT Bombay CS who got DAAD in his second year, but that is like the only case I know of. So I mean, for me, it's like I don't know, like if first year people don't know anything. I mean, I came from biology, bro. Like I did not even know computer science. What will I do research on? So it's like, I mean, in second year, like unless you have like previous background and like you're super genius or something, like if you are, you probably won't be in this session. So like it's very rare, like you'll get to do like internships outside of India, like in your second year, right? One way it can happen is that if you like, like outside of these programs, you can mail professors like individually, right? So like hypothetically assume they reply, which is also very rare. Then you might have a chance of working with them. And like this I noticed like a couple of times, like happening from Jadavpur, like Jadavpur University, over like this pandemic period, because like it's virtual and all, so people can be working. But like once everything reopens, I'm not sure if that would be possible, because like for most projects in the US, you need to have a work visa, right?
Mhm.
So I don't know like if that would be possible then, but like this is a way you can do it.
For I think second years, if anybody's that interested, there are a lot of standard like programs within the country, like in
Yeah.
within IISC. In IISC, like there's the IIS SRFP program. Then there every IIT, almost I think every IIT offers some kind of research internship. And funnily enough, in my second year, I applied to a lot of places. I got rejected from all of them except one, which also got cancelled because of COVID in the end. But I think like if anybody is interested, they can start off from second year just to get familiarized with this cumbersome process of just going and looking at what work professors are doing, and then seeing if they like it, forming some SOPs, stuff like that.
Right. So another question that I'm not sure how well you'll be able to answer this, but it is for okay, Anjishnu might be able to answer this. It is CS research for non-CS students. So there are students in other departments, maybe mechanical, maybe civil, maybe metallurgy, not electrical, but they are interested in doing CS research. So what kind of disadvantages do you think they could face?
So I'll give you an example, right, of disadvantage. So like IEST as a club, like Robodasan, and they used to have like tournaments and stuff before. So one of the things you had to like, you have to make a line following robot, right? And then there was like a maze solving robot or something. Uh, those you can do with like, basic Arduino. So like that was like the first time I tried programming, and Arduino is like pretty simple to do. So I could like successfully do that, like based off like, just reading from the internet and stuff. What like, what caused me the problems were like when I tried to do something with image processing, right? So in image processing, so let's say you have like a square that's colored red, and you have a square that's colored green. You only have a feed from an overhead camera, and you have to like move from the red to the green, right? Without knowing anything else. So that involves like, processing different things and everything. Uh, so like there was like one function involved in that. Uh, so it's basically a block of code, right? So it's like 3-4 lines, and then I did not have any idea of like what functions were and what loops were. So I wrote the same thing 90 times instead of like running a loop and calling the function 90 times. So I mean that's like a disadvantage like people have if they have like zero idea of programming, right? But like once you find out that you are making mistakes, like you can obviously like learn. Like there are plenty of resources on the internet, right? So I basically learned everything of programming from the internet. So it's possible to do, you just need to do it. And like if you are in like I changed departments, so it was probably easier for me to do because like I had to do it to pass like college. But if you are like in like staying in mechanical or like other departments, I'd say like you need to have like a lot of drive to do it, right? Because you have to do your like regular studies like for all your subjects, and then you have to find time and interest to actually do it. So it'll probably be tough, but if you enjoy it, you'll be able to do it.
And are both of you planning to go abroad for your higher studies sometime soon?
Sometimes, yeah.
Want to, but yeah.
So can you give us an idea of what you need to do if you want to do, say, a master's or a PhD program? What do you exactly have to do to get into those programs?
So I can like give my idea. So I think it varies a lot depending on where you want to go exactly. So typically for masters, there are some standard things that you need to fulfill. For example, the graduate record examinations, GRE, or English language proficiency tests like TOEFL or IELTS. These are like standard things which might be asked from you by different colleges. Apart from that, the admission requirements are similar, like some SOP, statement of purpose, or you need reference letters, a good CV with some, of course, previous research experience will always add more value to your application. And this is for masters, and I think usually in case of masters, you like have a proper portal where you can just go and apply your do your application. But for PhD it's slightly different because I think mostly you need to have some contact with the advisor you want to work with, and that again it begins with the cold mailing process of finding out what work people are doing, and then again telling them why you're interested and why they should take you. So, but again, in case of PhD, again the application requirements would again be similar with this added extra step of having some contact beforehand and some idea of what research work you're getting yourself into. That's a very vague idea. So,
So for PhD, is it like first your professor needs to say yes, then the university needs to say yes?
I think informally it is like that, although it also depends on the professor you're contacting, because a lot of professors explicitly mention that please do not contact me, you can directly apply and mention that you like my work. But informally in a lot of places it is recommended that you have an advisor who has already like kind of interviewed you or maybe just said yes that I want to take you in. So in most places, I don't think it would be formally mentioned as a requirement that you need to have a contact ready, but it is recommended, strongly recommended in most cases.
Right. So are both of you applying, like planning for PhD? Or?
Not PhD right now, I guess.
I'm applying for masters probably next year. Like next December, I might apply. I mean, I was going to apply like in my 4th year itself, right? But like because the Germany thing got cancelled, I was like, no, let's not take a risk right now. I'll do it later, right? And then I started working, and like this year, like there is zero sense of applying for me because they would see it as like I am basically sitting at home like for an entire year, like doing nothing, right? So I have to at least work for 1 year now, otherwise like it makes zero sense. And like if that happens, then like I can start applying in December of like 22 and then start classes in 23. but I'll probably apply for masters. Like, I don't think I have a good chance of a PhD right now, like in a decent place.
Like
I
after
mean,
your master's, you go for
yeah,
PhD, I'm sure.
yeah.
And apart from the financial aspect of earning while you're working, do you think work experience helps you before you're applying for masters or something?
It depends. I mean, so many people like in your master's batch, like wherever you're going, there'll be some people who are like directly coming from their 4th years, and some people with like 1 year, 2 year work experience, right? Like there are even in like instances of like more years of work experience, like 3, 4, or even larger, right? Uh, so like the usual norm is like 1 to 2 years of experience or no experience. But both of those groups of people, they'll be applying for like the same jobs and internships and higher studies during their master's program, right? And because like they're allowed to apply, like it doesn't make much of a difference like while you're applying for anything after that. But like once you're like let's say after masters you are joining a job, like or like maybe some internship or something, right? During that, like let's say if you are working before joining the masters, you will have some idea of like how like work works, right? I think like for me, like that's one of the reasons like why I did not like go for the masters right away. I wanted to actually see like what corporate feels like, and before like committing like an entire life to research. So
This is
yeah.
also a very important point, because if a lot of people are sure that they want to do a master's degree but are unsure if they want to go for a PhD, like full-time research. So in that case, I think having some job experience, it keeps a lot of avenues open. But then if somebody has like made their mind that yes, I will only do research for the rest of my life, then it might not be as useful. Like of course it would be experience, and like industry experience will have its own value, but not very specific to research work.
So that's the end of all our questions. Hi, Vishnu. And and if there are any live questions, we will take them right now. If you want, you can unmute. If you have any questions, you can get them answered live. One chance, one opportunity. Alumni of IIEST, not alumni, alumnus and 4th-year student. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask. I'll be here for 2 minutes. When does the DAAD portal usually open?
I think
September, October.
mid-September, starting of October. The deadline is usually 1st November. Deadline for finishing the online application, and your physical materials should reach within a week of that.
Prerequisite skills. So this is project specific, I guess.
Yeah.
Just no coding. Advantages of research papers. Will it help after college?
A lot.
I mean, if you're going for a job, well, no. If you're going for higher studies, probably, assuming it's good research. I mean, if
Yeah.
it's like just research that you're like, I mean, I read the newspaper and I did this. That's like not research. I mean, even if you publish it.
So is there a chance that bad research could hamper your application, like actually affect
It
it?
won't hamper. It's like
No.
if you have like only bad research, they'll just think that you don't have any good research. Like they won't count it. Like it's not a negative, it's a zero.
Right. It's like what happens in corporate referrals. A weak referral is actually counted negatively. So How many papers do you have? Just curiosity.
I have 3.
Oh,
Out of them, like I'd say like one isn't that good. The other 2 are like
we've
like
understood. The other 2
yeah.
are pretty good and one is good. Yeah, what are the topics? Like, what domain have you done these papers on?
So 2 of them were at one conference in gastroenterology. So there is this doctor in Canada. He's a friend of mine. So like we are indirect friends. Um, he's like studying at the University of Toronto, right? And this other friend was studying at MIT at that point of time. So they were working on something, like some data set they had or whatever, and they like the topic was basically like during the endoscopy procedure, you have to you like the hospitals, they record like the videos, right,
Mm-hmm.
of like whatever is going on through their instruments. Uh, so basically for those videos, like they wanted to analyze different things, right? And that was involving computer vision, and I was like free at that point of time, so they were like, do you want to do this? I was like, okay. And the other paper that I have, like those 2 were submitted there, and the other paper is like from the 4th year thesis. I mean, this isn't compulsory to write as a thesis for IIEST. It's just like, I had nothing else to do. So like, why not publish a paper?
I have nothing else to do. Let's write a thesis. Just bored, just free time. Yeah. Were they published anywhere, your papers?
Yeah. So the 2 papers on the gastro thing, they were published in, I forgot the name of the conference. It got published in Elsevier, like the journal, and the thesis one that got published to Springer. That happened yesterday. So that's fun.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Whoa. And I've actually heard of both of these journals, which means they're big because I've heard of none.
I mean, it's like okay. I mean, it's like not that good. I mean, I could have done better.
Yeah. Let's hope you keep doing better.
This is how to not be complacent. Big
Yeah.
lesson.
You look forward to your next publication.
Thank you.
ICML is the destination, maybe.
CGPR.
CGPA, okay.
CGPR 22.
Right.
I have not heard of these, but okay.
I mean, like direct CBP or ICML, like probably Havana. I mean, if I'm being honest, but like in those conferences, like if I try for like one of the workshops they have,
Yeah,
I
right.
might have a chance.
Right.
So CBPR has got something to do with computer vision.
Yeah.
ICML is machine learning.
CSML.
They're like the top, like one of the top most conferences of the respective fields.
Wow. That's
And like really by report, like if you go outside to study, so like for masters or anything, like most people, like they look like in the admissions committee, they look for if you have like anything that's in like a top conference or like in a top journal, right? So I mean, Springer is good, but like they'll look at the conference and say that it's not that good. But if you go to CVPR and then to Springer, that's good.
I see. So there's publication and there's conference.
Yeah.
So that's been our time. If there's any more questions, it's your last minute. Yeah, I think there's no more questions. So thank you for giving your time, both of you. And I know both of you are very busy people, or at least even if you're on vacation, that's busy. And yeah, thank you for this great session. Thank you for answering all our questions. And good luck with whatever you're doing next.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, hope I've been a good host, and see you again.